Hello and welcome to the Craft Witch Corner, where I yap and craft. My name is Dex and my pronouns are he, they. Today's video is about why I practice witchcraft as somebody who left the Christian church. I'm going to do my best to keep this concise and not ramble too much, so let's just get right into it. I was born and raised in Christianity. I went to a Christian school from pre-K until my freshman year, and then my sophomore year I went to another school. I grew up going to church every single Sunday. My mom is like a licensed pastor. Almost everyone in my extended family is also Christian, so I was very in it. Pretty much the only people I was around, spoke to, or had any kind of interaction with until I was like maybe 15. For the most part, those were all Christians. And yeah, so I was very sheltered and didn't really have any other perspectives of anything. When I was 14, at the beginning of my freshman year, I would wake up at 5 in the morning every morning, read my Bible, pray, all kinds of Christian-y stuff. And then I would go to my Christian school and my first class of the day was Bible class, which I think is funny. But anyways, so yeah, I was in this really deep. I wanted so badly for it to feel real. I wanted to have that connection. When I started to realize that that was so fake, and like I thought that that would make me feel better about myself, I thought that would make me feel more loved, etc. But really it just made me feel even more lonely and even more empty than before. Ultimately, I started spiraling more and more. And then I started doing drugs and shit, and I got myself sober by the end of my freshman year and was a little bit more back on track come sophomore year. As I said, I left that school, and my sophomore year I went to a non-Christian school, and I also moved out of my parents' house, and I was living with another relative. So first and foremost, I got away from the people who indoctrinated me. The relative I was living with was also Christian, but it's different. I don't know how to explain it, but it's different when they're your parents versus someone else you're related to. I got some distance, and I was finally learning other perspectives. I'd never known any queer people, any trans people at all. I'd never even seen them in real life, as far as I was aware. I mean, I'm sure I did, but like I didn't know that. And I was just finally like seeing people like me and like who I was inside and who I wanted to be. And it definitely started to really change things for me and make me realize that there was other options out there, and I didn't just have to stick to the indoctrination that I was given. Like I had options. I could find what was right for me. I didn't immediately abandon the faith. Really, it was probably like a year and a half, 2 years of just like slowly becoming disillusioned more and more because of all the bigotry and hatred in Christianity and the church. I am not anti-Christianity by any means at all. My mom is very Christian, and I have a wonderful relationship with her, and I respect her and I respect her faith, and it doesn't negatively impact our relationship with each other anymore. It's not the religion, it's the institution of the religion. It is the way that it has been used to harm, and that more often than not, Christians are really fucking shitty people doing really shitty things in the name of God, and I find it absolutely foul. So that kind of made me be like, oh, this is bullshit. I'm not going to do this anymore. Around 15 to 16, in the midst of my beginning to become disillusioned with Christianity, I found witchcraft through TikTok and Pinterest. As cringy as that is, that was my start. It was very much like the aesthetic, beautifully put together altars and spells and, you know, beginner witch tips, etc. And that is definitely what pulled me in. The first ever book about witchcraft that I read, I don't know the name of it, but it was a Wiccan or Wiccan-inspired book. I believe it was just a Wiccan book. And reading through it, I realized really quickly that Wicca was not for me, but there were some things that excited me and some things I was interested in, so I didn't just go like, oh, this is stupid. I was just like, okay, so these parts not for me, let's see what else there is out there. And then I started kind of researching more, and I started to see all the many paths and options that are in the witchcraft community. When I first started my practice, I identified somewhat as a Christian witch, and I prayed to God, and I was trying to have a relationship with Jesus and this God. But by 17, I was pretty much fully disillusioned, and I identified as agnostic. And then by 18, I identified as an atheist for a very short time. And between 18 and 19, Loki came crashing into my life, and I have now become whatever the hell I am. A chaotic Norse practitioner, something. My current beliefs are very complicated and a little bit hard to pin down. As a chaos practitioner, I hold opposing beliefs about a lot of different things, so that will have to be a whole video of its own in the future. But I'm definitely not a Christian. I'm definitely not an atheist. I believe in stuff. I believe in many things. Now that we have gone over the briefest possible history of my spiritual life, why do I practice the craft? Like I said, I was initially pulled in by the beautiful aesthetics on Pinterest and TikTok, but I stayed because of the message of realizing and harnessing your inner power, and the idea of being able to have some actual tangible control over my own life. Growing up in Christianity, the idea that humans have free will, it really haunted me. Is it really free will if one option is eternity in heaven, like blissful, wonderful eternity in heaven, and the other one is suffering in hell and burning for eternity? That's not really a choice, right? Like, it was so terrifying as a child to be told that if I didn't choose God, I was going to burn in hell for eternity. How could I make a choice against that, right? Like, because I was brainwashed at such a young age from birth. So moving out of that, I now have a very complicated relationship with the idea of fate, free will, destiny, all of that, and I am still figuring out what my beliefs are post-Christianity. It's very complicated for me. Another thing that disillusioned me to Christianity was just the absurdity of religions claiming that theirs is the one true religion and this is the one true God. I just find that really stupid. I'm so sorry if that comes across offensive to people who believe in one true God. That's your business, and I don't judge or shame you for that. For me, I find that really silly, because it's like, so if everyone's claiming to have the one true religion, then like, how do we really know which one is the one true religion? Because everyone is going to say it's theirs, because that's what they were taught to believe, generally. I know there are people who were not brought up Christian who get saved or whatever, but like, most of the people in my life, they were brainwashed into it, indoctrinated into it, just like me, from birth. So anyways, I just think it's really silly, personally. More than that, the hypocrisy and bigotry is what most made me realize that this religion was bullshit. At the end of the day, it's bullshit. Because the God and the Jesus that I know from the Bible, which I have read many times, is not reflected at all in most of the modern Christianity that I see. And that includes actual, like, real life, like, in-person Christians that I know. So many people claim to be Christian, but they do not practice the words of Jesus at all. At all. That is the biggest thing that made me go, what the fuck? Because all these people are claiming that God is on their side and claiming that they're so good and holy and Christian. And then they're going to pride parades and screaming, faggots go to hell, you know? That's not something a Christ follower would do. That wasn't the message of Jesus. That is just one of many examples I could give, but it's the one most top of mind as it is currently Pride Month. All of that started compounding and making me question everything and see my whole life and my whole belief structure from a very different lens. And ultimately, I realized that even if the God these people were worshiping truly is real, I would actually rather burn in hell and suffer for eternity than bend the knee to him and worship this God. Because that's an evil god. Witchcraft provided a safe space and a soft landing as I was coming out of Christianity, as I was figuring out how to deconstruct all of this and what I actually believe. It provided me a safe space away from a god that required blind faith, absolute submission, and absolute obedience. There was no longer an expectation that I should submit to the will of another. I finally had the chance to actually look at what I want and what I need and how I can create that reality for myself. I felt like a burden had been lifted off of me, like I could finally breathe. I felt free. I felt unshackled. The first time in my life, I could breathe. A lot of ex-witches that have turned to Christianity say a lot of crazy stuff about witchcraft, and one of the things that I think about a lot is they always talk about how they were exerting their will over others and manipulating people and trying to take control of others. And I just want to say, that's a them problem. I never wanted that. I never felt that. I wanted control over my own fucking life. I don't give a shit about other people. Not in a disrespectful way, but like, I don't want to control other people's lives. There are people in my life who are okay with me doing spellcraft for them. That's great. There are people who aren't. That's great. I don't. No worries. I'm not interested in manipulating people or controlling people at all. I don't necessarily think it's always a bad thing, but it's not something I'm interested in. My practice is primarily a tool for self-reflection, introspection, psychological and emotional healing, and internal transformation. Yes, there are definitely a lot of things that I do to help my external life as well, but it is generally focused on helping me be a better person so that I can reach my goals rather than trying to pull in stuff before I'm ready. Generally, the only time I am using witchcraft on external situations or other people without their explicit consent or them asking me to do something for them is like in the Turisas vlog, where I talk about the spell I did to protect the immigrants in my area. It is to protect the vulnerable and to tear down systems of oppression, the patriarchy, white supremacy, all of the systems that are in place that cause so much harm. That is what I put energy into tearing down. Not the people around me, not actual like human beings, systems of oppression that harm us all. With time, my practice has changed a little bit from pretty much solely focused on me and like internal transformation and that sort of thing. And it is now becoming more and more a way of building community and protecting my community and creating positive change in the world around me, as well as the world within me. I personally believe that as any kind of magical practitioner or religious person at all, or just human being, the fuck, but especially as a magical practitioner, I believe that it is absolutely our responsibility to do what we can to at least try to make the world around us a better place. Within our capabilities, everyone is on a different journey and has different capabilities, but I do believe that it's our responsibility to fucking try. This can even just mean praying for your community. It can just mean praying for the protection of your community. Just do something. Through my time in the craft, I am learning to trust myself, to trust my intuition and my instincts, healing from a lifetime of trauma, and building a life that I actually want to be a part of. That is why I practice the craft. And that's all I have to say for today. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you would like to see or hear more from me. If you also left Christianity or another form of religion and came to witchcraft, I would love to hear from you in the comments what your reasons are and why you stayed. With that being said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay crafty and stay kind.